Welcome to Unit Radio.
Hey, it's The Strokes off one of their more, I guess, recent releases, we'll say. Angles. And that is Gratisfaction. This is Unit Radio. I am Brad Stevens. It is, as usual, 8 p.m. on a Thursday evening, and it's about time for us to get started. Thank you, of course, for everybody who's a returning listener. I always, of course, appreciate the support. And, of course, everybody reaching out to us there on social media, their Instagram at Unit Radio, or, of course, just messaging me if you happen to be a pal or anything like that, or maybe someone who just sits in a desk next to me who's tuning into my radio show for the first time. So to thank you, of course, for returning guests and everybody who's new out there, welcome to Unit Radio. Again, I am Brad Stevens. So thanks for tuning in. This week, of course, I took a few things. Actually, I decided I was going to go back, listen to a few of our older episodes, and just maybe try to see if I can try to pinpoint some of what I felt worked and what I didn't. Like I've said to a lot of people, this is all pretty new to me too. So I've always wanted to do a radio show, and let's see. So I came in here. I started one in 2006. I did the training. I think it was 4 times, and this is my 4th time that I did it. And again, thanks to everybody at CHMR for letting me come in here for 2 hours every Thursday night. That's always great. I appreciate it. But I always wanted to do it. Never really felt like I'd be happy sitting at a desk. Or more importantly, never really felt like I'd be happy working at a job where I just had to be quiet. So it's nice being able to have a couple hours to come and sit in front of a microphone, and it's much cheaper than therapy, which is what I've had a lot of stand-up comedians tell me too. So so I guess this is great. This is very this is a dually beneficial. So thanks, CHMR. And more importantly, I wanted to try to go back to some of my old shows, because what's just as important as what works is identifying what doesn't work. And that's equally as important. You definitely want to make sure you highlight what you've done in your show that was absolute garbage, and never do it again, ideally. So I listened back, and I don't know, I didn't have anything that really stood out, but I'm always open to feedback. So if you happen to hear anything that you don't particularly love, hi folks, you guys have a great evening. I got people in here in production. If you happen to have any ideas or thoughts about the show, if you happen to have something that you thought was garbage, I'm open to it. I'm open to suggestions, because let's get real, I have no idea what I'm doing, which is evident in everything, I hope, really, from the fact that the intro is a modified version of my voice to the fact that the segues throughout the show that you're going to hear are also modified versions of my voice. And that's okay, because it's fine, because someday I'm going to go on Fiverr and I'm going to pay somebody with an actual voiceover voice to do voiceover work for me, and maybe do something resembling something. But it's kind of weird re-listening, I guess. It's going to be weird maybe to revisit a lot of the old episodes, say, months from now. So, it's only been, say, this is my 4th episode of the show. So just clearing off the first month, trying to reflect on what you've learned and what you've failed horribly at. And thankfully, I feel like I've come out in a good position. I haven't totally let myself down or disappointed myself or our faithful listeners out there yet, I think. So, and more importantly, I've had a few people reach out with some requests, which I always appreciate. Again, I'm always open to play whatever I can within the confines of what I can play. So again, just reach out to me if you gotta hunger and you gotta hear something. Just let me know, because I'm always open to it. And for me, actually, what I started trying to do was dig back a little bit, and I started thinking what I would do to build set lists, because it's not that much. And I don't feel like I play a whole lot of music on the show, I guess. Just me and a microphone a lot, which for anybody who's just tuning in, that probably doesn't sound that appealing, but I assure you it's somewhat appealing. I have something to say. Is it of value? That's debatable, but it is a thing that I'm saying, and I'm given 2 hours on the radio to say it, so for whatever reason. But one of the more important things was in building a set list. I started trying to just cherry pick from bands that I like. I even started kind of going through some of my old CDs that I owned. I started going back and looking at songs that I'd shared, bands that I listened to. For anybody who's a Blue Cafe, I think, Blue Cafe person. Before there was Facebook in St. John's, there was Blue Cafe, and you could, well, I guess maybe not even just St. John's. I'm from outside the city, and I used it, but Blue Cafe was like early social media where you had an account, and you used to share your favorite musicians, so your favorite bands, and you could find other people that also like those bands, which is cool, I guess, or weird. so I started going back even through some of those bands. And then I started trying to think even farther back. And I started going, okay, what did I originally listen to? And I mean, like when I was a kid, I listened to like if you ask my parents, they'll tell you I listened to Raffi. And I loved Raffi. And Raffi's great, and he's so great. And I loved Baby Beluga. There's some sort of like legend of a Raffi tape that I had apparently like destroyed through just overuse, just over and over again. So, which I completely believe because I'm still that obsessive with music, I guess, in a way. You find an album you like and you just stick with it and just ride it into the ground. But more importantly, I guess, like I started kind of thinking what were the first records that I bought. So I started trying to think back, and this is a little, and I'm going to admit this. I'm going to put this one out on the record. The very first time that I ever bought an album, and I guess maybe I should try to find out. This is brutal. So it was about 2000. I want to think it's 2000. Oh God, it was 1998. Okay, so it was 1998. So I'm 9 years old. That's a little forgivable, I guess. So 98, 99, I go to Walmart in the TC Square in Carbonear. And that day I buy 2 CDs. One I was buying and I actually wanted to buy. And the other I was buying to lay on top of the CD that I was actually buying, hoping that nobody would notice. Interestingly enough, the CD that was used for cover actually turned out to be the album that I really did like and really did listen to, which I guess is a little more evident now. But at the time I went down to buy, I bought Baby One More Time. So I bought the first Britney Spears album in 1999 when I was approximately 10 years old. Probably like maybe if I was going down there and I had money, it was probably like around my birthday. So I probably had birthday money to spend on Baby One More Time. And the album that I bought to lay over the top of that album was Hot Show by a little band called Prozac. Little outfit. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Prozac were 2 cartoon characters, Simon and Milo, who actually, strangely enough, and I actually didn't know this for years, but they were actually 2 members of another Canadian group called the Philosopher Kings. Allegedly, the story goes that they had some sort of fight and had some sort of run-in with one another and had a physical altercation, was the only way that I could find it described. And their way of deciding that they were going to finally make up was to write music together, as sort of almost maybe like a means of penance or what have you. I was going to try to take a look over here. Yeah, so we got about 10 minutes in. I'll probably do a little song. I'll give you a little song there. So for me, I ended up just picking up this second album. This is Hot Show. I lay it on top because this is another cool album. And I think at the time, I'm a Ball of Charade and Sucks to Be You were super cool songs. And they were big hits and all over Much Music. And they had cartoon videos. So they were super cool, obviously. And yeah, so evidently I just wanted to be just like, the guys from Prozac. And inevitably that was the CD that I brought home and ended up listening to a little more, which I guess from there, I sort of picked up, I picked up dance music. Maybe did I listen to, is it like early EDM music? Electronic dance music? I'm actually taking a guess on that. I think that's what that stands for. So I guess I got a taste of Prozac. And from there, like when I really tell the story and people ask what's the first album you really bought that you were like in love with, the answer that I actually give people is The Strokes, which is technically true. So, I mean, for me, the first album that I bought that got me into music was Is This It? And that's technically true. But the first album that I really, really, really bought was Hot Show, if anybody asks. And I'll deny otherwise. And from Hot Show, actually, this was one of the ones that stuck out to me. This sounds terrible. But if I'm going to sell myself down the river here, I might as well just do it in style. From Hot Show by Prozac, this is Mediterranean Lady. Actually, off their debut release. It might have been even actually like a B-side, maybe off their early release. That is Love and Rockets. Actually with a Temptations cover. That was Ball of Confusion. What a tune. We're going to thank Mr. John Jarvis out there in out there in Radio Land, New Brunswick. Thank you for tuning in, John. I always appreciate the kind words, and more importantly, I appreciate the musical recommendation. That one, yeah. Love and Rockets. I actually wasn't familiar with Love and Rockets, but I gotta say, very cool. Almost like, I guess, early 80s or mid 80s punk. Very cool. And an interesting image, too, as well, because, I mean, it's something that obviously you saw carried on through bands like the Sex Pistols, too. I mean, very similar look. I'm guessing probably a UK scene, actually. Yeah, thank you again, John. I really appreciate it. You're listening to Unit Radio, everybody. I, again, am Brad Stevens. For anybody just tuning in, thank you for tuning in, for finding us on your dial on Thursday evening there. Make sure, of course, you stick around, because we're going to have lots of great tunes coming up. Of course, I'm going to go through, again, my lovely little section I like to call Local Flavor, with a lot of local bands, acts, artists, what have you. And of course, if you're a local artist and you want to hear your music on Unit Radio, make sure, of course, to reach out to me there at Instagram at Unit Radio. That's all one word, Unit Radio. So again, I'm Brad Stevens, and thank you, of course, to people actually reaching out to me right now on Instagram and Facebook. Of course, I put forth the question there. The two songs you just heard before the commercial break, of course, Mediterranean Lady, from their debut album Hot Show, that was Prozac, and then of course from their, I believe, their debut album Seventh Dream of Teenage Hearts, I believe, or no, Seventh Dream of Teenage Heaven. I'm an idiot. That was Love and Rockets covering the Temptations' Ball of Confusion. And actually, again, John reached out to that one. He said maybe a little timely with everything going on in the States, and I'm going to get into that actually in a moment as well, because you know me. I love a good topical discussion. But, if there are people reaching out to me there on Facebook, I decided to put forth the question because Prozac and Britney Spears were my first two albums that I bought. So I wanted to put forth the question to people, what was your first album? So thanks again to people. We had April reached out. April said her first album. This is pretty good. Jagged Little Pill from Alanis Morissette. That's not that embarrassing. You actually got a couple of likes. You got more likes than I did. So it's fine. Don't worry about it. And of course, we got... It looks like we've got actually someone who wanted to be identified as Kay. Her first two records were Aaron Carter's Another Earthquake and S Club 7 Sunshine. Again, actually, not that bad. Aaron Carter maybe hasn't aged as well, possibly, the music. I mean, he certainly probably looks fine. I don't know. How's Aaron Carter looking these days? I think he has a radio show, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he? Oh, look, there you go. He smiles in Florida after gaining 30 pounds. That's awesome, man. Get it. It looks great. That's very cool, man. So, it's not that embarrassing. But more importantly, S Club 7. Who didn't love S Club 7? There ain't no party like an S Club party. I mean, what more do you want? I don't know what to tell you. So those are great choices as far as I'm concerned. I don't know why you wouldn't want to, be identified or why you're a little embarrassed about it. John, of course, with that hit here, he reached out actually as well. I'm in no way be ashamed of this. I tattooed this on my body. John bought Kiss's Destroyer from the Zellers on Torbay Road. Yeah. John's that kind of cool. You rule, buddy. That's a good one. Of course, then we've got Christy reaching out, also in New Brunswick as well, with TLC's Fan Mail. Not that bad. Did Fan Mail have any of the, like anything that we know? And I mean, by anything we know, I mean Waterfalls, obviously. What was Fan Mail? Okay, I think that's the one. Yeah, it's the three faces, throating heads. Is it? Oh no! Oh wait, no! Wait, I'm way off. Oh, it had no scrubs. Oh, and it had Unpretty. Oh. Okay. I mean, I'm the idiot for not knowing that. Wow, I completely forgot about No Scrubs. Gosh, I wish I could play that right now. Ah, what a tune! It's playing in my heart. So thanks for that one. Thanks for putting that earworm in there for me, Christy. I really, really, truly appreciate that. Leon White from here in Thune, St. John's, as it were, Thune, reaching out to let us know he got a pile from Columbia House. But the question is, can you remember? Can you remember which one was the first one? Is there one that stood out? And I guess to K, the unidentified K, was one of them a Decoy record? Like, did you have a similar situation to mine? Where you just wanted to, make sure, were you covering up the Aaron Carter one with the probably way more cool S Club 7? I mean, I don't know. At the time, who would have been more cool? Like, the way she described it, she said, I'm a 2000s kid. And I was like, okay, I get that. But at the time, Aaron Carter was so cool. And his older brother Nick was in Backstreet Boys, and they were just a bunch of dreamy hunks. So, I mean, the Nest Club 7 had their own show. So, I don't know, that's a tough call. Again, I think, honestly, neither of those choices are terrifically embarrassing, and definitely not as embarrassing as a 10-year-old boy buying Baby One More Time. But, you know, you live and learn. And it's not like Britney's music has aged horribly. I mean, I'm sure most of you could probably still sing a lyric or two. My loneliness is killing me. Come on. Oh, hit me right in the heartstrings. So thanks to everybody, of course, for tuning in. I do appreciate it, honestly. The kind words and feedback and insults and just generally letting me know you're out there. It always means a lot. So as I was saying, that song, of course, actually was suggested to me there. Wall of Confusion, because it is a little bit of a topical song. It is a little bit of a call to action, as it were. And of course, for anybody who has been paying attention, I guess, to the news over the last few days, my apologies. It looks like Eminem actually has reinserted himself to the conversation. He's re-entered the arena, and at the BET Awards recently did a pre-recorded video showing him in what looked to be a parking garage, throwing down one of the coolest freestyles I've heard in a while. And it is very, very interesting. Like, I'll be honest, I'm the type of person that I'm really reactive to music and to TV shows and stuff anyway. So I'm the type of person that if I happen to hear, like if I see a scene in a movie where the music swells with the scene very well and everything is kind of syncing up nicely, you get that feeling that the hair is just standing up on your arm, just how good it is. And there's movies I can watch over and over again, and scenes I can watch, and albums I can listen to. And one of my first episodes of this, I played Only in Dreams by Weezer. And that's a song that does it for me 100%. That song gives me goosebumps in every sense of the word. And I'm going to be honest, I am in no way, would never have in any way identified as an Eminem fan. Not that I ever disliked them or ever had anything against them. I just feel like I was too young when he was as big as he was. And I never got into it. But I don't know, man. I got to say, it was amazing. Like, I was listening to it at work, and the hair stood up on my arm, and I listened to it again on my break, and it was just incredible. And I mean, he kind of hits everything. I mean, it's blatantly at heart. It is not even an attack. It's an assault on Trump and Trump supporters more than anything. But it really feels almost like an attack on the way things are being handled nowadays. You know, when I re-listened over and over again, he's very honest with the fact that he's just angry, and you can see and feel that anger in him. Even in his flow, it's totally a cappella. It seems very freestyle flowed. I mean, taking a look, he kind of calls him out for using Twitter, and he says, like saying, let's take a look. It's like we take a step forwards, then backwards, but this is his form of distraction. Plus, he gets an enormous reaction when he attacks the NFL, so we focus on that instead of talking Puerto Rico or gun reform for Nevada. And all these horrible tragedies, and he's bored and would rather cause a Twitter storm with the Packers. And I mean, Eminem is someone obviously who's very well respected in the hip hop and rap scene, and is obviously someone who, like, I guess he has obviously had records in the last few years, but he's been pretty quiet. It's not that I haven't known him to be a socially conscious person. He has obviously had his moments in the past where he has not been so socially conscious, and seems to have tried to reform and tried to make amends. But this is unbelievable. Says that he wants to lower our taxes, then who's going to pay for his extravagant trips back and forth with his fam to his golf course and his golf resorts and his mansions. Yeah, it's for anybody who hasn't seen it, I gotta recommend, just take 3 or 4 minutes just to watch it. It's pretty incredible, to the point where he's even given a straight shout out to Colin Kaepernick, of course, who is kind of, honestly, I guess, really the initial person to kind of start this movement of what's been happening recently in the NFL. So it's recently come to kneeling in the NFL, which has been, I guess it's been a controversial move, I guess. I don't see why. I mean, the argument's being made that it is a sport and they're athletes and to keep politics out of athletes. But to me, it kind of feels like I was talking with my roommate earlier about the idea that it feels like we've been trained and it's been ingrained in our society that you never talk politics at the dinner table. And it's always been said you never bring up politics, but now we've been trained not to talk politics, so nobody's really talking about anything real. I don't mean to go social justice on anybody, but it's nice to talk about something real every once in a while. And it feels like, in that way, I don't know, I feel like we've been constantly told not to say whatever, and I feel like that's sort of the same mentality that's being applied to sports right now. It's been said, don't speak out, don't speak up. But these athletes, have a voice. They're totally entitled to speak up and say what they want. They're entitled to speak out against injustice if they see it or feel it or experience it, or even if it's separate from them, if they want to acknowledge it. They have that right. They have the right to be able to do that. And I don't know. Yeah, I was kind of caught off guard because I guess this has been blowing up the internet for the last couple of days, I guess, and I only just caught wind of it today. But it is, I don't know, it was incredible, and it was incredible to listen to, and I gave it a few whirls. I can't play it here. There's no way. I'm looking at the lyrics on CNN, and there's like a couple of lines that are just like redacted entirely. It's just gone. So, I mean, I can't say it, but again, I can't recommend it enough. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I guess I didn't get into hip hop until a little bit late. That's my earliest delving into hip hop, and maybe for a lot of people I grew up with, for sure, was Kanye West. For whatever you'll say about the guy now, I understand and I'll take it. But to be completely honest, I mean, I don't know. The guy was great at the time. Like, I loved Kanye West. Kanye West was one of my favorite musicians. There was nobody like him. I mean, there still really isn't anybody like him if you want to get down to it. Again, for better or for worse. But he's an incredible musician. I mean, one of the stories that I remember reading that kind of blew my mind was people who knew him early on, say when he was still just producing songs. Because for anyone who knows, I guess early in his career, he had just kind of been producing songs for Jay-Z. He'd been writing most of his beats, or producing most of his beats. And to be completely honest, when he started doing his first record and he got signed, there were people that he brought into his circle, and he started kind of showing them the material he had been working on. And the whole idea was, he had a great song. So when the first album came out, and he said, I guess he had a lot of great songs when the first album came out, but somebody was looking through the material and they found this song called Jesus Walks, which for anybody who's a Kanye fan knows that it's the first single off of his second record. And somebody saw that and said to him, "That's amazing, dude. This song is outrageous. You've got to put this on the record." And he immediately just said, "No, that's for the second one. Like, that's the lead single off the second one." And then, like, at that point, every move that he made, up until, I believe, his mother passed away after his third record, every move he made was pre-calculated. Maybe afterwards, maybe everything really was calculated, but it seemed like his release just after his mother's passing was 808 and Heartbreaks, which is it's a really dark turn for Kanye, because it went from his earliest release was College Dropout, which then went on to, I believe, Late Registration, then on to Graduation. And I believe after that, the idea was, as far as it had always been said, it was going to be a good blank job. I don't want to censor that, but I guess I have to. But that was going to be his succession of sort of his motif along the way. You go to university, you register late, but you know what, you showed up anyway, and then you graduate. And all of those albums, the first three sort of follow that theme. There's a lot of spoken word. But, honestly, it's one of those things now that I look at and I go, maybe this was all intentional, because he does take a dark turn then, after, with his, I guess, fifth record at that point, my beautiful twisted dark fantasy, which not only was kind of like a departure from a lot of his style of material, it was just like an angry, loud, incredible record. I've never heard anything like it. And again, like, even as someone who was a Kanye fan, I had never, ever heard anything like it. from there, I don't know where I went. I had friends that were always into it. Steve, incorrigible, but yet unattainable as a guest. Unfortunately, Steve right now is actually on the road again, out and about. And I hope he is out there and was able to tune in on radio, on the radio online app thing, website. Of course, knownmun.ca/CHMR. Although if you're already listening to this, you're probably already there, or you're already listening to it, in which case, why do you want to go online and listen to it? But Steve, listened to a lot of rap all the way through. He got me into some trap rap. You introduced me to a lot of Atlanta gangster rap too. I feel like most of actually what I've heard, there's a guy named Squatta B. I know actually you kind of kept in touch with a couple of those guys. A lot of these guys that he spoke with actually personally were living in California, living in Oakland. And, they're just small. I mean, in the same way that there's local artists here, they were just small local artists in Oakland. And we just happen to know them. And it's kind of incredible that the internet has made everything so small that he was able to actually reach out to a couple of these guys on Facebook and send them a message, became friends. They actually shared music with him a couple of times. One of the most incredible things actually was my friend had to delete his Facebook for a little while just to get rid of it. And when he actually re-added his Facebook a few months later and reactivated the account, I guess, or what have you, one of those guys reached out to him and thought something had happened and was worried about him, was legitimately concerned something had happened to a fan. This guy that they had reached out to and spoke with every day, which is kind of incredible. So I don't know if you're out there, Squatta B, which you're not, but if you are, what's up? So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take a quick little breather here. But again, of course, you've been tuning into Unit Radio. This is Thursday, and we're gonna be here till 10 p.m. playing some tunes. And for those of you listening who have to go, sorry. I'll try to get these episodes online. And for those sticking around, stay tuned. We've got plenty more. And I'm taking requests on the Instagram at Unit Radio. So make sure you stick around, everybody.
Unit Radio is back.
All right. For anybody there who's just tuning in, this is Unit Radio. It's a little hot there. Unit Radio, and I am Brad Stevens. And for anybody who's stuck around, thank you. I always appreciate it. And again, I'm always surprised, but always flattered. That was Sam Roberts, everybody off, I believe. Again, I don't know if it's anybody's first release or their last release, or I just know it's an older song. I grew up with this one a little bit, and this one is called Taj Mahal off of Sam Roberts' We Were Born in a Flame. And again, yeah, Unit Radio. So, I mean, most of what I try to do here is I like to do a lot of Canadian music if possible. I like to do a little bit of local, which, of course, coming up, you have a little local flavor. Always looking forward to playing that. And more importantly, I'm just here to talk about current events, That's what this is all about. And I guess the most current thing, really, that's going to be happening in the city the next... the next week or so is going to be MusicNL. This is the 25th anniversary this week, actually. So you're seeing a lot of events, a lot of galas. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, someone I love and like to watch when I first started getting into the music scene here, Mr. Adam Baxter. And if I'm not mistaken, Adam is going to be playing, if not has already played, today at the Jag Hotel for a gala there. So if you haven't already played Adam, I wish you the best of luck. Very talented, and of course I know he's got a new record out. So I know he'll be touring that. Make sure you check him out. Very incredibly talented gentleman, and I believe educator of the youth now. Just an all-around jack of all trades. So what a guy. And of course, taking a look there, of course, CBC's been covering it a little bit, which has been nice. I know there was a great article out there I would recommend checking out. It's a, hey, have you heard? It's 5 Newfoundland bands worth giving a listen to. So taking a look through here, I see a lot of familiar faces. I know, of course, I'm seeing here a group called Townhouse. And, of course, they're led off by Melissa Vey. You've got Tyler Stanley, Curtis Smith, and Mike Dre. And it looks like, actually, yeah, they got their name from, you guessed it, a townhouse that they live together in downtown St. John's. And, of course, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I've certainly seen these folks. Again, another band here, the Cubasonics. This sounds great. 20-year history, but oh, wow. And it's not your regular folk music. It sounds real cool. Looks like they're having a lot of fun. You've got a fiddle/violin. When does a fiddle stop being a violin, or when does a violin stop being a fiddle? Is there a difference? Is this like the Chesterfield couch love seat thing all over again? Where is there a clear, defined definition? Before I left the house, actually, that was my one comment to one of my roommates. Is there anything that you need me to talk about this evening? And the one thing that he actually really did highlight is he wanted me to know that he needed me to pick up where I left off on the Chesterfield couch situation that I kind of got a little bit into a few weeks ago. And thank you again, special thank you to our good pal Tristan, living out there in Vancouver, for, of course, reaching out and being the instigator that you are. I always love that. It's really nice of you. It's great that you wanted to know about Chesterfields and chairs. You don't care. I know you don't care, but I care, and I'm glad you're listening, because more importantly, even if you're just trolling me and making fun of me, you're still tuning in. And I like that, because that's numbers. But more importantly, you know, I guess than numbers, I've got great numbers. I'm getting Trump on you now. I've got incredible numbers. Like, you wouldn't believe the kind of numbers I've got. You know, more importantly, what it's nice to see is that there's actually this kind of support for the 25th anniversary of MusicNL. And that's great because, you know, for, you know, myself, like I got into music, and that was how, you know, we kind of started to get our name out there a little bit. We just started to play with bands. You know, we leveraged ourselves a little bit with local organizations like MusicNL or like East Coast Music Association. I know the Arts NL was particularly kind to us as well. It's an excellent group, or an excellent organization, or what have you. I don't know. I'm certainly not saying it right. And then, of course, it's tough not to be a little bit, to feel like you're playing a little bit of favoritism sometimes in the local music scene, only in the sense that, you know, truthfully, there are a lot of local acts that when you start going to band shows or, you know, you start going to open mics and stuff, you do tend to see a lot of people that rotate in St. John's, and, you know, he's the drummer in this band, but he's the guitarist in that band, but he sings in another band. I swear at one point, I'm almost positive that I was certainly a point about 4 or 5 years ago that 90% of the bands I'm thinking in this city had Chris Donnelly or Steve Doyle behind the drums, for sure. There was definitely a period. And of course, I know even Clayton Saunders as well has definitely taken his set of sets behind him. So it's nice to see the same rotating set of faces, which it makes the scene a lot of fun and makes it as tight as it is, and makes it as, you know, it's enjoyable to go to a show because you are going to see your pals. Unless you get in a fight with all of them, and then it's not so fun. But don't do that, and then you're fine, right? So there you go. That's the trick of the trade when you're in the music scene. Just don't have a racket with anybody, and you're laughing, as they say. People say that. I say that. I always wondered if that was a Bayism. That's one of those things that goes back to, is this something that I say, or is this something that people say? And sometimes it would be really nice to know. Sometimes I really, truly have no idea. Yeah. So, but, you know, hey, whatever. It's that's important to me. It's important that I, you know, try to recognize maybe you know, sometimes the things that I say don't make sense. Sometimes what makes the most sense to me and sounds the most clear cut, the most obvious thing to say. You know, it's like me and my friends. We always say the word cause, so, you know, CAUSE, and I don't know, it's one of those things where it's kind of tough to describe the context and what we and how we use it. So, like, if someone were doing something extravagantly or intensely or flamboyantly, or just if someone were just overly enthusiastic, you might open your eyes widely at them and say, cause. Or if someone says something that's outrageous or unbelievable or shocking, your response might be, yes, by cause. And I don't know what that means either. And it's funny, because I can't in any way translate it. There's no literal translation for it. You know, it's like how some languages have 1,000 words for snow. There's no definition for cause. I don't know what it means, and yet there's a generation of people that I think I grew up with that know what it means. So, for example, if I knew two people that were really close-knit, and they were just, like, you know, what you might say, those two are two peas in a pod. Two peas in a pod. I might have grown up saying, 'cause I knows you're not very jammy like. And I don't know if I can define that for you either. 'Cause I guess, I don't know. That's just what that was the normal. That was what people said. That was how people talk to each other. 'Cause you're not very jammy like. I don't know. Is that not normal? Maybe it's not. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I've learned that most of the things that I think and do are definitely far from normal. I mean, that's why I'm here. That's why I sit in front of a microphone every Thursday night for 2 hours. And for that matter, why do I keep saying Wednesday night? You know what's funny is it's actually live. Like I can post a picture of myself right now. It is really live. Like I am really here doing this. And, you know, but last week, for example, I had to work a little bit late. So I'm going to tell you a little radio secret. I'm going to break the fourth wall down. Last week, I had to come in a little bit early, and I had to pre-record the show. I know. Deception. And that's okay. It's fine. But more importantly, I had to try to then upload it and put it in the system. So thanks to Colleen for helping me. I made a mistake, unfortunately. And I did the first hour and 17 minutes of the show, but we were supposed to have the Kyle King interview just shortly thereafter. And unfortunately, that did not make it in the playlist. And I don't know why. I'm so sorry, Kyle King. Thank you for coming in the week before to do the interview. But I guess, I don't know. It unfortunately just... it started playing the playlist. And I think it's something to do with what I did. So I made a mistake. I made a boo-boo. But we're going to get that interview online so we can let the people have what they want, which is more Kyle King on the radio. So more importantly, so that's on Unit Radio there. Just shared a little video. So this is live. I am really here. And of course, I try to record these as well, just so I have something for me to go back and listen to. And like I said, identify my strengths and weaknesses. You know, like I said, where was I going with this? I don't even know anymore. Come on, it's been an hour. I'm just here talking. I'm talking to myself. All right, let's play a song. It's okay. Again, I did a little Sam Roberts. I do like to try to touch on as much local, or at least Canadian, as I possibly can. And I am going to, of course, have our local segment coming up, I guess, a little bit later. So I don't want to dig too much into it. What I will do, I guess, is I'm going to dig in, I guess, to I'll dig into a Canadian singer-songwriter that I love. This is a guy... I've actually seen him live twice here. The last time he was here actually was before the Majestic, which recently reopened and reclosed. It was before that one initially closed. So he came to that venue, the the Majestic, and before that I saw him at Holy Heart with oh my God, the incredible Jill Barber. She was just an amazing performer. But this guy here, I mean, needs no introduction. He's got a bunch of albums. I'm pretty sure I've played one of his songs on every single one of my shows thus far. More importantly, he's just been a favorite of mine. It was someone that I always got into. This is Ron Sexsmith off his album Retriever with one of my favorite songs. This is Hard Bargain, and you're listening to Unit Radio.
Unit Radio is back.
And thank you again very much for sticking around. Of course, this is Unit Radio, everybody. I'm your host, Brad Stevens, and for anybody just tuning in, thank you for finding me on Thursday evening CHMR FM dial, or of course tuning in there to mon.ca/CHMR. Again, I don't know why anybody lets me do this, but this is great. That, of course, a couple of songs that you just heard there. Oof. We had, of course, Ron Sexsmith with Hard Bargain off one of his later releases, Retriever. And then following that up there, actually, we had a B-side off of Fate. That's the 2005-2006 release from Dr. Dog. The song being Is It Worth My Time? That one's got that old feel, too. There's something about that one I like. I don't know what it is. It's just got such a cool feel. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned, I guess, whatever. But I don't know. There's something really fun about that one. It's I don't know. It's got everything that I like in a good jam. It's I don't know. It feels like it's a brass instrument. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just maybe it's a reed. I don't know, it's sort of got that sort of swanky. Anyway, I love it. But that's Dr. Dog, one of my favorite bands, actually. And again, actually, we've got more people still chiming in there on the what was your first record, of course. Taking a look, we got... let's take a look. We got Steve Doyle coming in first. Oh, actually dividing it up there. So first CD was Insomniac by Green Day. Great choice, actually. And first vinyl, Born to Run, Used. That's, of course, that needs no introduction, Mr. Springsteen. Very cool, Doyle. That's awesome, man. We got, let's see, Cora Lee right now. You're chiming in there, actually, from the far, far, far West Coast. Thank you, Cora. I appreciate it. Oh, Hot Shot by Shaggy. And that was huge, actually, when we were younger. Wasn't Me was such a big number. Oh, my God. So, of course, they're taking a look a little further. We got another divider down here. We got my old pal Mary Kate. She's chiming in there. Backstreet's back. So, of course, there we go. Another Carter brother. So, a lot of Carter brothers making first memories there. And first one for vinyl for her was actually, yeah, it's a pretty decent one. Death from Above. You're a Woman, I'm a Machine. So that one was, I think, 2004, 2005, probably when I was in high school. That one was, I feel like that record dominated a lot of people's lives, man. That shaped a lot of people musically, too. Kind of really brought to the forefront the idea of the two-piece band. I think, I don't know who came before them. I don't know if it was them that came first or if it was the Black Keys that came first, but two bands that really always reminded me of one another, that heavy feel. Of course, Alex Daw chiming in there as well with your first record was Big Willie Style. That was an awesome one from Will Smith. And that was when DJ Will Smith went solo. Left old Jazzy Jeff behind. Although I'm sure Jazzy Jeff probably still appeared on a few tracks there, riding the proverbial coattail, as it were. And you got to do something when Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's off the air, I guess, you know. And then, of course, you got Stephen Power, the Steve, chiming on in there. Thanks, buddy. He's no regrets whatsoever. Our Lady Peace with Gravity. You know what? I can't judge on that. And again, Our Lady Peace, I've had this conversation, I think, with him, is not a band that I've ever had a problem with. It's not a band that I think is bad or not a band that I don't even like. I think they're a great band. It's just not a band I was ever into. And I know a lot of people, there's always that sort of debate, I feel like, that goes back and forth about, I think it's Naveed. Naveed was one of their early records, and everybody, I think you're one of those people that either you liked them when Naveed came out and then you didn't like them as much, or you got into them after Naveed. You know, and there's certain, I guess there's artists like that. There's directors like that though too. I've heard the argument made. I listened to a radio show recently where there was a debate going on about Mel Brooks and where people feel that Mel Brooks went wrong with his movies, or where things started to go awry with his films, and when he made his first bad movie. Because I mean, if you look at the track record initially, he had The Producers, which was so good that it became its own Broadway musical and ended up becoming a film that was later remade. Amazing movie about two guys who write and produce a musical that's destined to fail just to make their money. And then he went on to make things like, say, Blazing Saddles, which was kind of a, which actually, I mean, not even kind of, it was a satire on the entire Western genre and on Hollywood in a sense, really. It was super interesting. High Anxiety was another one as well. What a Dramatic Airport. That one was actually just a complete Hitchcockian spoof, just taking on all those types of films. Just a ridiculous movie, but way too funny. I really liked that one, actually. But then a lot of people felt that as he went on, his movies got worse and worse. So I guess apparently, depending on when you were born, around what age you were, either when A History of the World came out, or when Spaceballs came out. So a lot of people, if you were, say, an adult when Spaceballs came out, and Spaceballs was a parody of the Star Wars movies, apparently then you were more likely to think that the movie that came right before that was his last good movie, which was History of the World, and which is a decent movie, really which is really a funny one. And then there's, of course, Spaceballs, that if you felt Spaceballs was a great movie, and I mean, it came out shortly thereafter Return of the Jedi, if I'm not mistaken. So it would have been right in the infancy. You would have been growing up with Star Wars, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a parody. In the same way that when I was a kid, Scary Movie came out and was a parody of every slasher movie and horror movie and all those terrible sort of teen slasher drama, whatever, I Know What You Did Last Summer films and all that nonsense. And I guess that was the film of their generation, you know? And it's kind of funny to think about. I try to go back, I guess, and watch a lot of the early movies like that, and especially early slashers, because I watched a lot growing up. And I don't feel like a lot of them had the same scare. Like I have an aunt and an uncle who their first date, they went to Jaws, which is an incredible movie. But watching it now, outside of the scene, saying like the third act of the movie when they're really face to face with the shark, I don't remember being really scared of that movie growing up. And I don't know if it's just because, I don't know if I'm completely just exempt to it. I don't know what happened to me. Maybe I've got no heart, I've got no soul, I can't feel things anymore. I don't know what it is. But it's too bad. It's a shame, you know. But regardless, you know, I don't get the same spooks out of them. Now, conversely, there's stuff that's come out now in more recent years. So, like, if anybody's familiar with the Saw series, the first Saw is one of the most incredible endings I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. It's still, I know what's going to happen, and it still just completely blows me away every time. It's so good. Even stuff like, I mean, not necessarily a horror, but like a thriller, like something like The Usual Suspects, which to me, the first time I saw that movie blew me away. And then I watched it with a good buddy of mine, Evan, and he figured out what was going on in the first 15 minutes of the movie. So, you know, different experiences for different people. Obviously, figuring movies out is not my strong suit. I'm good at a lot of things, and everybody's good at something. That is not the thing that I'm good at. So sorry. You know, I'm really good at clerical work. I'm good at typing. I can do like a solid 65 to 70 words per minute. Is that good? I feel like 70 is like an okay benchmark. I don't feel like I'm not gonna be cut out to be a stenographer, or certainly not anybody, you know, taking minutes at a meeting anywhere. Nobody's gonna hire me to be their administrative assistant or anything like that. But I can type pretty good. I type good. I don't have a lot of errors, spelling errors. Sometimes I do. It's weird because I'm overconfident about it sometimes too. So I neglect to let other people see the things that I write and type sometimes because I know everything, obviously, because I'm a genius. And I don't know why I'm so arrogant about it. But it's really dumb. It makes no sense. But it is the thing that I do. I'm a little overzealous about my typing and my spelling. And I'm certainly not that great. I'm going to put it to the test one of these days. I'll get a guest in here and I'll get somebody to just throw stuff at me. Before I go to another song, actually, we did have a few more people reach out. Actually, I had another one reach out here. We had Jessica reach out and said her first record, or first CD, I guess, was Spice by Spice Girls. That's a classic too, honestly. Just a few years ago, the band that I was in all dressed up as the Spice Girls, 5 of us, 5 of them. You know, I figured it's perfect. And of course, yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about the Spice Girls. You guys all have great choices. Mine's super embarrassing. I got Britney Spears' first release as a 10-year-old boy. You guys are putting me to shame here. You know, the Carter Brothers is nothing. I mean, and John, you had Kiss Destroyer, and then Jessica's got Spice Girls. You guys must have been the coolest kids ever. I mean, to somebody, I was probably the coolest kid ever, but just not to future me. Little did I know that someday I would be on the radio telling people that my first album was a Britney Spears one. So, you know, that's okay. You live and learn. How do you know you're going to be on the radio someday? So, of course, I mentioned it earlier, and this is a song that I do love. I love this song. I'm not even going to give it an introduction. From their first release, and this I'm sure of is definitely their first release, the Blue Album. This is one of my favorite bands. This is Weezer with the closing track off the record, Only in Dreams. And for those of you out there, again, you are listening to 93.5 CHMR FM. This is Unit Radio. I'm Brad Stevens. All right, everybody, that was David Bazan with Cold Beer and Cigarettes. And this is Unit Radio, and again, I'm Brad Stevens. Thank you guys for coming in to help round off the final half hour of the show. And right before that, of course, from the Blue Album, that was Weezer with Only in Dreams, which is my personal favorite 9-minute long song. It's a good one, though, and that one always stuck with me with that beautiful solo in the end. And again, more than anything, Unit Radio, of course, is all about local. We try to keep it local. David's not local, of course, but we're going to go ahead with my, I guess the only segment that I've come up with. So I'll say my little segment. This is local flavor, everybody. Right here, normally, I guess there would be a little stinger that we'd have a little local flavor. So maybe I'll sample that for next week. We'll see. Although I might have said that last week too, so we'll see. But I want to play a few songs just from local bands that are catching my eye, catching my ear, or just play favoritism with people that are good buds of mine, and just generally people that I like, good, talented folks. So to that point, speaking of good, talented folks, I do have a good pal of mine, Mr. Danger Giles, and of course he's just a man extraordinaire. He's whatever he does, whatever he delves into, he's the king of it. And of course he's done he's actually been in quite a few bands. Was in a band with me a couple of times over, and right now I guess he's the most recent project he's been involved in, if I'm not mistaken, or at least seems to be appearing in some of the, I guess at least the artwork of, would be a local outfit by the name of Conditioner. And I'm not familiar with Conditioner, but of course they are playing a few shows. Their description is from far away, like the Irving sign on the highway. So yeah, they are Conditioner, and from their self-titled release, this is All Right here on Unit Radio. Album there, that is Conditioner with All Right, from part of your local flavor there. Whew! Oh, that was a good one. Thanks for that. Thanks for passing that one along there, Danger. I really appreciate it. That's an awesome tune. I still got more people that are starting to continue to chime in here on the on Unit Radio's Raging Conversation happening online here. So what was the first record or album or CD or cassette or 8-track that you bought for yourself? So looking out here, we've got Kara's chimed in. Let's take a look. She's actually got a lot of variety here. So the first album gifted to me was Disney's Pocahontas official soundtrack, which I adored, of course. The Colors of the Wind and all. Classic. Then the first album that I bought is one of these equally embarrassing but so good soundtracks. Oh man. Queen of the Damned, Spider-Man, or Vin Diesel's classic Triple X. She still has all three, and she kind of wants to go listen to them. So thanks for that, Kara. That's horribly embarrassing. But it's still not more embarrassing than listening to Britney Spears. I might still win, but you win for chiming in. Thanks for listening to Unit Radio and for participating in the conversation at the very least. My friend pal Vanessa, of course, is reaching out there. No doubt. Tragic Kingdom. Tragic Kingdom's actually, again, that's on like the top tier of like, that's honestly as good as you could have been listening to. I would have been lucky to have been listening to something that good when I was young. Like, I feel like when my parents tell me stories about the stuff that they, caught me dancing to or listening to, it's always like horrific. So like there's a childhood video of me dancing to Right Said Fred, or like I told the stories about Raffi earlier, but like basically wearing out a Raffi tape. And that stuff's ridiculous, but then you got people who are like, oh yeah, no, I was listening to like decent, early 90s female fronted ska. No big deal. But yeah. And to Steve there listening, I got Steve tuning in from Labrador. He said, Conditioner, never heard that band before. That is actually, that's a local outfit there. If I'm not mistaken, there may be the likes of Gravy Jones, who is, or Jeans, heading up that group there. So make sure you check them out. We've also got Bray Pilgrim also checking in there. Oh, thanks, Bray. Bray, of course, was the drummer for a band that we've had on Local Flavor, actually, Make Mean Everything, with Jeff Cook and John Conway, one of my favorite trios, Triforce. He's chiming in. His first record was Linkin Park's Reanimation. Wow. Actually, to be honest with you, I love that record too. I never owned that one. That and... oh my gosh, what was the other group that I used to listen to at the same time? I guess probably it was Linkin Park and Sum 41, which was probably like my Sum 41 was my punk, I'm having fun, Not quite as explicit as something like Blink-182, but still, Canadian hard hitters. Thanks, Bray. We got Gloria Gogo chiming in there. Bay City Rollers. Little bye-bye, baby, baby, goodbye. Thank you, Gloria, for chiming on in and listening to Unit Radio, I hope, out there on mon.ca/CHMR, or of course tuning into the local radio dial 93.5 CHMR. And last but not least, chiming in there, we've got old Sue, my pal. Thank you, Sue, for chiming in there with first record was Janis Joplin's Greatest Hits. You guys are killing it. You're actually putting me to shame here. Again, I'm going to remind everybody who lost out on the first hour there and we went through. So we've got Janis Joplin, we've got No Doubt, we've got Linkin Park, we've got Backstreet Boys, we got Bruce, Columbia House, and Jagged Little Pill, Destroyer by Kiss, and I'm talking about picking up Prozac as a cover for actually wanting to purchase Baby One More Time in 1999. I was 10 years old. What an idiot. I can't believe I admitted that. Now I can't take that back. Oh boy. And speaking of things I deserve, from another local flavor trio, actually this is a quartet. What am I saying? Some of my favorite boys in the city. This is off one of their, I guess, the 2014 release, Car Songs. This is The Times, for those of you not familiar, an amazing group. And this is Lobotomy. I'd check out the video for Lobotomy if I were you. But more importantly, stick around. It's Unit Radio. Woo!
Unit Radio is back.
Yeah, that's right. Unit Radio is back. Unit Radio is back. Welcome. I am Brad Stevens, and we're just rounding into the last 15 minutes of the show here. Again, for anybody who's just tuning in, I do appreciate you finding us on the dial, and hope you stick around for the last bit. We're going to be doing a little segment called Local Flavor, for which I'm going to have a much more impressive stinger when we come back next week. So for anyone who's just listening in there, of course, we just had before the break, that was the Times with Lobotomy off their album Car Songs. All the guys from here from town. Unfortunately, Jeremy, that lead singer with those angelic pipes, he's living abroad now, but when he does come home, there's usually shows, of course. So make sure you guys stay tuned for any Times gigs coming on up. And of course, after that, we had Ali Duff and the Happy Campers off their Happy Campers release. That was 6 a.m. And actually, both of those are favorites of mine. I do love Caught in a Rug listening to it. And maybe I'm just a little nostalgic. Oh, I love those tunes. But yeah, I'm glad to add them to the Unit Radio playlist there. So I'm going to keep the thing going here with more local flavor. Again, I guess really for anybody who's been around the scene a while, of course, I guess you probably, as I mentioned there earlier, you probably may have familiarized yourself with a little trio by the name of Make Mean Everything. So these guys played a little bit of everywhere. They had a couple of album releases. I saw them at a couple of Battle of the Bands. I've seen Jeff do a lot of their songs solo. I lived with Bray for a while, so I heard all of their songs on drums, and I love their music. But this is off, I believe, their second release. This was released during them trying actually out for a Battle of the Bands. They decided they were going to do an album and just kind of launch it and drop it at the same time. Just a great time to get some new material out there. This was one of my favorite of their new releases. This one off of Gamma Rays by Make Mean Everything was called Pigeon. And again, you're listening to Unit Radio. This is 93.5 CHMR fam. Their second release, that was Make Mean Everything with Pigeon off Gamma Rays. That one is an awesome tune. So again, that's Jeff, John, Braden. You guys rule. Sadly, with Jeff out of the province, much like with Jeremy out of the province for the Times, I don't see you play as much, really at least half as much as I'd like to anymore. And again, that's another local one out of the local flavor from Unit Radio. And Jeff, no matter where you're living, buddy, you're always local to me. And that sounds cheesy, but I don't care, because you're always in St. John's in my heart. So again, I'm going to give you another little bit of local flavor. This one I do know a few of the guys here. This is off their King Rat demos. For those of you not familiar, of course, it was we had, of course, Chad, we have Gravy, the aforementioned Gravy Jeans as well, Foosh, and Arn. These guys were Coward, and this is What Can I Do? Again, off the King Rat demo, and I don't know what that is, but off their self-titled debut and unfortunately only record, that was the Pre-Raphaelites, based out of St. John's, with one of my favorite local tunes. That was White Hot Core. And again, for Unit Radio, that was our local flavor selection. So I want to just say thanks, of course, to those local bands for, more importantly, just having their music available for me to use. I certainly, I hope you don't mind, and I certainly, appreciate the availability of such amazing local artists. And again, with MusicNL going on this week and them celebrating the 25th anniversary, make sure you get out to as much as possible. As we cap off the last couple of minutes of the show here, what I did want to say is we got a couple of people that reached out, the last few listeners that reached out and let me know. We had a good pal of mine, no pun intended, living in Nova Scotia there. First English album, and the gentleman actually grew up in Calcutta, India. The first English album he bought, he's ashamed to admit it, was the Backstreet Boys. That's another one there with the Backstreet Boys. Looks like the Carters, again, shaping lives here. These are the boys. Adam, another pal of mine there, Adam reached out. This is a good one, actually. I, Mother Earth's Scenery and Fish. I don't get that one a lot, and you know what? It's been years since I've listened to I, Mother Earth. Maybe that's something I've got to write down there for next week. And last but not least, my good pal Matt, all the way at the other side, as far as you can possibly go in the country. Matt, thank you for tuning in. His first was Most Tasteless from Twisted. That doesn't surprise me at all. That surprises me the least of anybody's. You guys are even hardly embarrassing. So, as I said, my first two albums, I had Britney Spears and Prozac were my first two CDs. But my first vinyl, all the way back in, 2 years ago, actually. It's my very first vinyl. To close us out here tonight, from a little gentleman named Zamfir. This is The Lonely Shepherd. Again, for everybody who tuned in all the way through here, thank you for listening. My name's Brad Stevens. This has been the 4th episode of Unit Radio. Come in next week, Thursday from 8 to 10. We'll be back for another episode. Take care.